Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer. This is Rainier Books on BookTube, and I'm a German booktuber living in Sweden and talking about books mostly written or translated into English. It's time again. It's that time of year again. Today is actually October the 3rd. It's Sunday, October the 3rd, which means Germany has its National Day. Congratulations, Germany, to that. I hope that you soon get a government. That is very, very complicated for Germany right now after the election results that came last Sunday. But I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about different things. This is that time of year again. It's 3 months to go. I'm way behind my reading schedule, and I'd use this weekly wrap-up that I'm doing today of week number 39 of 2021. I use this to give a short wrap-up of what happened last week in my reading and a long TBR for books until the rest of the year of 2021. And it's also an invitation for you to join me in reading one or two of these books. So let's get started. Last week, I finished one book in the post-Soviet book club because the post-Soviet book club finished its third book. I have to say that I already only finished two of them, and that is Untraceable by Sergei Lebedev from Russia, and that is SnowWhite and RussianFRed from Dorota Maslowska from Poland that I finished last week. The second book is still on my electronic device to be finished. That is Museum of Abandoned Secret by Oksana Zabushko from the Ukraine. This book, I don't want to talk about it as much. I like the cover, but the cover is maybe the thing I like most about the book. I do say that Dorota Maslowska, the author, who was 19 years old when this novel was completed in 2002, she was born in 1983. I do say that this author is a very talented author, but I also say that I disliked or even hated the book, although it is well written. So this is written from a first-person, not from a first-person narrative, but from it's focused on a person, on a boy, on a young Polish boy. His name is Nails in that novel. It's his nickname, apparently, who lives a life of drugs, of anti-Russian faults that he is thinking all the time because there are Russian gangs coming into his town, and of girls. And he's a very selfish, arrogant, unlikable character, and that's what I hated so much about this book, that I had to stand it for more than 250 pages. I do, though, recognize or reckon or state that I still think that Dorota Maslowska is a very talented author, and I want to read a book by her later written in her career and see what she's like when she has, because she has a great name in Polish literature of today, and I want to read at least one more book by Maslowska later on, but not this year. I'm still reading, and this will take me into the next week. I'm still reading Jessica Bruder's book Nomad Land, Surviving America in the 21st Century, about nomads. I don't know. Who knows, and probably nobody knows how many nomads there are living in the United States, in their RVs, in their campers, in their trucks, running around the country. Jessica Bruder, the author, is a journalist. She has spent a lot of months together with different nomads, and a woman who has worked, for example, in the camper workforce of Amazon. I didn't know that. Did you know that Amazon has something they call the camper workforce, that whenever it's sort of high season and a lot of things, more things than usual, get traded on the Amazon webpage and the Engage, the camper workforce, that means people who are probably 60 years and much older even, to come to certain facilities and to live there in the trailer parks and to work there for 10 hours a day and to pick up things or stow things. I didn't know that. And this is one of the examples, and also the American national parks that Jessica Bruder is taking up, of people who can't afford to retire in the United States. And apparently this group is getting bigger and bigger. It's a great book. I think that's already the third book that I read where home has a certain focus, and it really got to me now that there might be a pattern in that reading that I have. Anyway, this is a book that I really enjoyed. I also enjoyed the movie. You see the poster of the movie Nomad Land by Chloe Zhang on my wall here with Frances McDormand, who won a third Oscar for it a couple of months ago in Hollywood, Los Angeles. But now, ladies and gentlemen, quite quickly, I hope so, because I have about 16 books here that I want to show you that I have decided I want to read at least half of them until the end of the year. If there are offers to anybody reads, there might be more, of course. I still have some library reads here that I have to do. As soon as I finish Jessica Bruder, hopefully next week, I will get to The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris, which is a book about a young woman, black woman, working in a company in the United States. And everything is fine until a second black girl, the other black girl, is starting to work there, and problems arise for the narrator of this book, maybe because or through that other black girl. I don't know. It sounds like a funny and also sort of exciting read that I will take. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris was published in this year of 2021. I also have from the library a book that, because it's my sort of fable for Japanese contemporary literature, I got Heaven by Mieko Kawakami from Japan. I think this is a book about mobbing, quite a short book by Kawakami. It was reviewed very, very beautifully and very positive here on BookTube. And I am really looking forward to this book, Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. The third one I have from the library in Stockholm is a essay collection by an author that I adore, an author where I have read two books of. The last one was the Mars Room, and I also read Flamethrowers by her. This is Rachel Kushner and her collection of essays called The Hard Crowd, essays between 2000 and 2020 by Rachel Kushner. Tramping in the Byways, Picture Book Horses, Not with a Band, Made to Burn, The Sinking of the HMS Bounty. I'm very curious about thoughts of Rachel Kushner. From the Booker, I have some Canadian literature here to read still, and that was very much expected. But all of you who have read it have said that this is a very well narrated book. This is A Town Called Solace by Mary Lawson, book that I bought from the long list of the Booker Prize 2021 from Canada. I want to read this, Late Nights on Air by Elizabeth Hay, a book that won the Scotiabank Giller Prize a couple of years ago. I always wanted to read more of Elizabeth Hay, so that's why I picked Alone in the Classroom, another novel that I got from England as a used book. I think last year, when it was still possible to buy used books to reasonable prices from the UK, which is no longer possible if you don't travel to the UK and get them there. So this is one waiting for me. Do I have more Canadian here? I think yes, I have more Canadian books here. So let's make this a Canadian focus point here in this video. This is Desmond Cole's autobiographical book, The Skin We're In, about racism and Toronto in Canada. I also have a collection of short stories from Canada, actually two here. One is called Hear the Dark by David Bergen, who was nominated last year for the Scotiabank Giller Prize long list. This is an author, I think, who has also won the Scotiabank Giller Prize before. From Canada, I also have Always Brave, Sometimes Kind by Katie Bickell. I just love the cover. I would love to have this as a poster on my wall. Short stories, I think, as well, from the Edmonton, Alberta area. But then I decided, okay, let's go for even more short stories, and I went for Sleepovers by Ashleigh Bryant Phillips, American collection of short stories that was actually nominated for the Short Story Prize this year. That is a book that I have on this long list of books that I am planning to read until Christmas. Then I come to two books that could be Yeah, two books actually that are thrillers, or three actually. The first one is also from Japan. It's by Kotaro Isaka, Bullet Train, about a story that plays out on the bullet trains, the Shinkansen train system of Japan. I traveled myself with that train too, a little more than 2 years ago in Japan. It's amazing to ride on these trains. And this is a novel that plays out on the trains. 5 killers on board, a train in Tokyo. Who will make it to the last station? Whoa, that sounds good reading for dark days like this, when the dark days have already started here in Stockholm. The next novel takes us to London, England, and someone who is hungry for revenge, someone who worked in India in Pakistan as a detective, and who is now in London as a waiter, but sort of the detective life is going to get to him again in London. It's called The Waiter by Ajay Chowdhury, where a very influential man is found dead in the pool in London in the beginning. I have the third thriller, you could call, is a book that I bought in the beginning of this year that I will finally and hopefully get to until Christmas. This is Girl A by Abigail Dean. I love this cover. And this is about a girl who has suffered extremely in her childhood, and the childhood sort of gets back to her when she's a grown-up young woman. Probably also a motion picture very soon. I have 4 more books here on this list before I turn to 4 final Kindle choices. So then I have 20 books that I really want to finish this year, because I have to finish 20 books to fulfill the promise that I gave to myself in the reading challenge on Goodreads. I have another nominee for the Booker Prize, The Promise, which is also on the short list of the Booker Prize, the Promise by Damon Galgut from South Africa, one of the favorites actually for the Booker this year, about a South African family and their housemaid and the lies and the deceptions that are happening there. I have 2 Japanese books here on my table again. One I already told you about is The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuko Imamura, which seems to be kind of a little surrealistic, typical Japanese story. Very small book. And then I have a non-fiction book called Black Box by Shiori Ito that I want to read until the end of the year. This is about one of the most, probably the most spectacular case of the Me Too movement in Japan a couple of years ago, when it started really also in Japan. And from the long list of the international, the translated works of fiction, from the long list of the National Book Award, I received this week a book that was written in French, but deals with Korea. This is Winter in Sokcho by Elisa, Shua, Dusapin. Winter in Sokcho is a novel about a woman in South Korea, I think pretty close living to the North Korean border, and she gets a visitor from France, and very interesting things are about to happen. This sounded very interesting to me. Yeah, and finally 4 books that I picked from the Kindle, from my large ever-growing ebook collection that I want to finish until the end of the year. And these 4 books are The North Face of the Heart by Dolores Redondo, which is a crime novel from Spain. It's a novel about a Spanish young policewoman educated in the United States, helping the FBI to get another serial killer. What's Mine and Yours, which is a story of family and race in North Carolina by 5 under 5 NBA author Naima Koster. It's Superhost by Kate Russo, which is a novel about a man in his 50s who is I think a painter, and he is renting out some of his rooms to Airbnb-like guests. And there's an interesting development between him and the guests. And the last book that I have from that electronic list is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikatsu Kawaguchi. This is a Japanese novel, apparently, that is about a cafe somewhere in Tokyo where it says, legend says, you can go in and then you can meet people who have died and who you miss on your life. But the problem is that this encounter with these people is as long as the coffee is warm, before the coffee gets cold. That's the fourth and last book. These are 21 books. There's one book additionally that we are going to read in the Post-Soviet Book Club in November from Azerbaijan, but this is already fixed. So these are the books. I hope to finish as many as possible out of them. The library might have 2 or 3 surprises because I have some reservations from books that they haven't got into their stock yet, that are ordered and that I am already have signed up for. They might surprise me tomorrow, next week, or in a month or so. So there might be a few changes. If you are interested in reading one of these books with me as a buddy read, we might put up a scheme. I have also one book, I forgot one book. One of these books that I'm waiting for the library is Intimacies by Keiji Kitamura, which I'm going to read with Paolo from Draw Your Book. So this is already clear, but we don't know when we can start because I don't know when I can get that book. And Paolo has been so patient as to wait. Thank you very much for that. And thanks very much for watching this video. I will come back with the best books of September, the books that were published last month that I thought or think are interesting to me and maybe even to you. Just a bunch of books from this month. And there will be single reviews as soon as I have finished Nomad Land by Jessica Bruder, because I like the book very much. I like the topic very much. It's very important. I think there will be a single review, and that's the way we carry on. So thanks very much for watching this, and I hope to see you very soon. I hope really that you stay tuned to this channel, that you might subscribe to it, but most of all, you should stay safe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.